Oh, no, not me. Don't worry about it. No. God ain't told me that yet.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this commission work session to
Sherlock ain't gonna be here. He got a wedding.
thank you. We'd like to call this commission work session to order. Thank you so much.
I gave a blanket prayer.
Sir,
I gave a blanket prayer in the special meeting.
you did. Thank you very much. We have had our prayer and we have had our pledge for today.
All right.
Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Dominic, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Williams, Mr. Lynn, Ms. Bowman, Ms. Baker,
Here.
Ms. Lynch, Mr. Escaday, Mr. Thibodeau, Mr. Cox, Mr. Smith, and Ms. Jefferson. We have a quorum, Madam President.
We've had our prayer and our pledge, Mr. Clerk. Citizens comment. Citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward to the president or the clerk of the commission. Comments by any citizen will be limited to 3 minutes. And I have in my possession 3 cards. First is Mr. Mark Bennington.
I apologize, I wasn't dressed for the occasion. I've been working on things.
Hey, we all work around here. Don't worry about it. I hear you, brother.
Please state your name, address for the record.
Okay, my name is Mark Dennington, 6700 Jefferson Page Road, Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay, I don't have a whole lot of gripes. I do have one. It was with the water system. We were doing some housing, and I believe I sent it to. I've been working with the water department, and the only problem is that some of the houses that when we go and buy these houses and go to fix them up and bring them back up to code, I was actually asked to fix the problem for the water system on the city side, and I believe that that should be the city's responsibility from the city for the other side. Correct? That's correct, right? Well, that hasn't been the case. The problem is that if I go buy a house now and it is and there's a problem with the water, I have to fix the city side. That's what they're making us do, and that's not okay. I mean, that's the city's. We handle everything from this side of the meter to the house. I mean, it's always been that way, but that's not the way it's been here lately. So that's been a serious problem. With us trying to put our money into these houses, I know my time is running out. I do want to say that the adjudication process is working, and it's good, and it's awesome. But it's if there's a way to make it faster, as far as when we put our applications in, I'm still waiting like 10 months on some that I put in, almost a year. But it's some things fall through the cracks, and these guys are really busy, but they do a really good job. I really do. I think they're really hard workers, and they got a lot going on. But if there's any way that we could speed it up, because I'd like to go put 20 applications in, to be able to get some of these houses back up to code. And a lot of these houses, some of these companies that will come in and purchase, and they never do anything with them. And they still sit there, and you still don't make any money, and nothing ever happens. Maybe there's a way to take a look at making a fail-safe to not let that happen anymore. But people who are really actually out trying to do our city a justice, to bring these houses and make them livable again, and not have some of these things happen. Like some companies are coming in out of state, California, Atlanta, different places, and they'll buy up or run the prices up really high on the houses, and sometimes they don't come and get them, and the other times they just leave them, and they're still 5 years later you go back and look at the house and it's still the same as it was 5 years previous. Anyway, if there's a way that you could look at that, that would be awesome.
Is that it?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that's it. I mean, as a whole, I think you guys are awesome. You're doing a great job.
Commissioner Lynch is out of the chamber. Commissioner Escaday.
Yes, the Jefferson Page Road property you're speaking of, is that in the city?
Yes, that's not the property. It was actually on DeSoto, was where I had the problem. DeSoto, between DeSoto, Jewella, and Hearn Avenue.
In the city?
Yes, sir.
Have you spoken to the city about it, the city council about it? We really don't have any jurisdiction.
Y'all don't have any jurisdiction over that
Parish.
Oh, you're the parish? Okay, I'm sorry. There's
next week, Monday and Tuesday is when they meet.
Okay, buddy, you're blessing. Thanks.
That was my question. Straight, man. Now, if you do have a problem in Caddo, come see us.
Awesome.
Thank you. Ms. Rosalind Naylor.
April Fool.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Rosalind Collins Miller, and the address is 5646 South Lake Shore Drive, number 23. Okay, my question is, I purchased the property through the adjudicated process, and then I was told that when it came time to get everything done, that there was a house on the property, and the house has been demolished for 10 years. But you had to pay the price, you had to pay taxes on that property as if it were still there. And I was just wondering what happens to that money on a property that there's not even a house available, or even in there. The house has been demolished for 10 years. And then my other question is, for the taxes that I paid on my own personal property, I am still going through with them because they're saying there's no one in that department to even handle questions for taxes that are sitting in an office on my own personal residence at 5646 South Lake Shore Drive. And I was wondering, is there not anyone that's going to be replaced in that office or not with the parish?
The second request, you said you having issues with your taxes where
Yes.
you live.
Yes, ma'am.
Call the tax assessor's
Yes,
office.
and I was told there's no one in that department. Now, as of late, a few weeks ago, I called and they said a check has been issued, but the fact that there's no one in that department, I don't understand how that could even be so.
You getting a rebate or something, or a
Yes, the
refund?
refund needs to go to my mortgage company.
Oh, okay. Mr. Whitaker, can you come and answer our first question? I don't know about the second question.
You called the right person.
Yeah, okay. I don't either.
I can address the first thing. The second thing, I'd have to get some more information from Rosalind, but it sounds like she's getting a refund from the tax commission?
That's correct, that needs to go to my mortgage company, but there was no one even in that department to issue a check.
Talk to me, I'll give you some names. Now, the first thing, and I try to caution people about this, with regard to the house being demolished on the piece of property, as y'all are aware, the tax assessor is required every 4 years to do a reassessment on every piece of property in Caddo Parish, with the exception of adjudicated property. He does not reassess adjudicated property. So let's say it gets adjudicated in 2000, and in 2001, the city goes out there and demolishes the house. The assessor is not going to take the house off because he's not required to. I mean, that's their position. We don't reassess adjudicated property while it's on the adjudicated roll. Now, once our deed is filed, which I hand deliver a copy after we file it to the assessor's office, to their land ownership department, they are supposed to go out and reassess the property to, you know, whatever, because some of this property's been adjudicated 20 years. It may have gone up in value, it may have gone down in value, I don't know. I think they would certainly need to take an improvement off if it's not there. And I can give you somebody to talk to about that. Those two.
Talk to Mr. Whittington. Thank you. Next, Mr. Kevin Smith.
My name is Kevin Smith. I bought a couple of properties from the Jude.
Excuse me, Mr. Smith, will you state your name and address for the record?
Kevin Smith. My address is 5992 Canada Court, Shreveport, Louisiana 71107.
Okay.
My complaint is I purchased some property from the adjudication process, and I got the procedures in writing how they go about doing it, but for some reason it's not followed that way. I purchased a property, paid for it, got a receipt, signed the deed, and for a month I waited, but in the paperwork it states that you will get a deed within 10 days of paying for that property. So I waited a month, and then I get a phone call saying that this person have redeemed a property after a month, and this property have been sold 3 times in the tax sales. Now, I go around and buy properties from the city and fix up the properties, but you go around and turn back around and let somebody redeem the property after I'd already signed the deed and paid my money, so now it's like, I gotta come up with a receipt and all this. The problem that I'm having is, I follow the rules and regulation. I feel like that the rules and regulation of the city, of the adjudication process, shouldn't be made up as it go. You know, that's how I feel about it, because what I do is I go around the city of Shreveport, buy these tore up ragged houses and repair them and fix them up, bring them back to code, just like the other guy and Ms. Rosin. That's what we do. But and I also have another complaint. I put some applications in October, over 1,500. I had almost $4,500 of applications in. I'm still waiting to even get a piece of paper saying, well, Mrs. Smith, here it is, could come and bid on it. Over in October of last year. And, you know, this is the problem that I'm having, because it's like, I read your regulations, I go about, you know, follow all the guidelines that say that you will receive a deed within 10 days after you done paid for it. So I don't know what's going on, how they go about it, if that's a law or that's illegal, that you pay for something and I get a receipt and then I turn back around and say, hey, it's been redeemed after I paid my money, over $6,000 for this property. So, I mean, you know, I've been running around back and forth, going to the assessor's office, talking with different people. Now, the city, they don't do that. Once you sign that deed, it's a done deal. But for some reason over here, it's like, well, if the deed's set on the desk for 4 months, that means that these people have the right to come back and get their property if it's set on the desk for 4 months? Because they say the only way the deed is finalized unless the parish files it. But I feel like it should be done when I pay my money. So, you know, that's my complaint, because if I'm gonna keep buying properties and then I put up $6,000 on my bank account, which I don't even get any interest or anything off of that, and they hold the deed for 3 months, and then they say, oh, they came back and redeemed it. You know, you got to think about it. It's almost a year process just to go, because you got to wait 60 days and then turn back around and wait 6 months, and then when you get to the end of the road, they be like, oh, well, you know, you paid for it. I'm calling every day, hey, where's my deed, where's my deed, where's my deed? You know, you say after 10 days, and then a month later, you be like, oh, they redeemed it. To me, I feel like it's a little hanky-panky. That's how I feel about it, you know.
Mrs. Smith, both of your transactions were with the parish?
Yes, ma'am. And matter of fact, this is one of the deeds. I signed both of them at the same time. I got one deed, but didn't get the other deed.
Okay. Commissioner Williams?
Mr. Administration, we need to not only look at this case, but any other cases where we have a policy in place, and we shouldn't have a double standard rule, one rule and this rule. I think before we, you know, point the finger at him, we need to investigate the validity of what he's saying to make sure that this is not going on under the parish watch. Also, you say you've been buying property and you got your deed in 10 days, and then you bought several other properties and didn't get any deed.
No, Rosalind, she paid for her deed in January. She's still waiting. She's still waiting.
I'm familiar with the process. I used to do what you do, so I understand. It wasn't done like it was quick. You got it when you said it. You got it.
Right. And then on some cases, it's like, well, you know, you wait, you call, it ain't in, it's on the mayor's desk, you know, it's this, it's that.
How many pieces of property you
Mayor's.
brought?
You said mayor's
On the
desk?
mayor's desk, you know, he got to sign the deed or whatever. You know, this is what we've been told, and I'm standing here because I'm not the only one. It's several other people had the same complaint.
That's why I asked before we point any finger.
Yes, sir.
Play the blame game. Make sure it's not the parish or the city. We need to get to the bottom of it. And we're going to allow administration and the gentleman that runs that department to give you a better answer than the answer is today. Because we can't answer that today, I believe.
Well, I understand, but I just want to bring it to...
They'll get your name, get your address, find out what's going on, and then when you don't get what you need, come back before us, and then we'll make sure you get exactly what you need.
Like I said, I've been up there speaking, talking.
What we talking about, this body.
From this point?
This is Caddo Commission.
Right.
And the other meeting is City Council.
Right.
But we want you to be able to get an answer. We want to offer you a solution to your problem.
I do appreciate that.
And I understand your frustration.
Yes, sir.
I do. And I believe we have some competent people that work for us, are very professional, will give you the answer that you need. But I want you to continue to buy property. Repringe and revitalize, especially the neighborhoods I live in. I'm glad to see you come in, take an interest and invest into these communities that are dilapidated, poor housing and redevelopment. So I commend you, young man, for bringing investment back into the neighborhood and making it better when you find affordable housing for people that can't afford it. So I commend you. I do want the process to work for you, not against you. You know, the bureaucracy and the red tape that you're trying to go through, it makes you frustrated, it makes you want to give up and quit.
It really do.
Based on that, I've been there, so we want to make sure the bureaucracy, the red tape, that Caddo is open for business, provide quality, affordable housing for poor people that can't afford it, that they can feel good about themselves and live in the same neighborhood they choose to do so. But we want you to be able to do business with us and feel good about it. And unfortunately, you have some frustration, and we want to help you ease that pain by allowing our administration to do what they do best, is investigate and troubleshoot, and I believe we can get you some help.
Okay, Mr. Smith, please talk to Mr. Whittington. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Lynn?
I'm sorry.
Attorney Grubb, I know that when people purchase tax sale property, when it is then purchased, if it is then purchased back by the owner, they pay 18.5% interest for the first year and 13.5% interest for every year after. So it's a pretty good way to make money. You either get a house or you get a lot of money plus your interest back. Does this not happen also with the adjudicated property?
Would you me answer that question?
I want somebody to answer it, or we can just get back to, see, you might be coming out ahead as well. You might get your tax money and some land
No, once the deed, like Mr. Smith's deed, is filed at the courthouse, redemption is off the table.
Okay.
I mean, the only way they could set aside Mr. Smith's deed would be to take some kind of legal action.
That's it. You answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. If I might expound on one problem, and I do want to say it's I guess our fault. Part of the problem, we were having trouble getting a deed back from the city. Just so y'all know how it works, you know how we send you an ordinance and it's got a long list of properties on there for y'all to declare it surplus, give the administrator authority to sell it. Well, anytime when we do this for the city, anytime we have property where we know we got to get the city's participation, we send them a letter, same deal, with a long list of properties saying, please declare these to be surplus. Several months ago, there was some kind of breakdown. We've been doing this for about 10 years, but there was some kind of breakdown to where we sent several letters with numerous properties on them to the city to declare surplus, and we brought, Mr. Smith would contact us and say, okay, it's time for me to come in and close. We'd look and make sure it had been long enough since the bid session, because he's required to do something in between the bid and the closing. He would say, it's time for us to come in and close. We would go ahead and bring him in, collect his money, and then send the deed down to the city, and the city said we hadn't declared these surplus. And their contentions were that we did not get the letter. So as our procedure stands today, we no longer email any other thing, but we hand deliver our letter to the Property Management Division of the City of Shreveport, so we can say, here, it's in your hands, please declare these properties surplus. Because they can't do it until the mayor does, the city council does it, and then they got to lay it over 10 days and all that. So we will not be bringing any more people in like Mr. Smith until we know that the city has declared it surplus. And after that, it takes us typically about a week to get it back from the mayor's office.
Now,
Hold on.
Jimmy.
Stay.
Jimmy, come front row. Come front row.
Commissioner Dominic.
Jimmy, a couple questions. So, once he signs the deed, it's not completely final. I mean, we accept his money, and he signs the deed, it's still...
We sign it first, Mr. Smith signs it first, then Dr. Wilson signs it, and then we send it downstairs for the mayor's signature.
And even after Dr. Wilson signs it, before, if it takes 2 or 3 days or a week to get to the mayor, they still have a right to redeem it during that time?
Up until the time the deed is filed.
Okay, all right.
Well,
And
it's all the mayor.
then,
It can be redeemed by the owner, their heirs, successors, or assigns, is the way it reads, at any time prior to the filing of the deed.
and the next question is, he said there was like $4,500 of applications he's put in back in October? What's the holdup on those? When can?
They're on ordinances that y'all are either passing or getting ready to pass, or we're waiting on the city.
The redemption thing, as far as the heirs or whoever has the right to redeem it, that's a state law?
Yes.
So that's state law, they have up
Yes.
until the time to record it?
Yes. Up until the time that the deed is filed at Gary Lofton's office, they can come in at any time. We can't stop them.
I understand, that's the only question I have.
The only thing we can, we can collect, like Mr. Smith's $300 application fee, any other money he may have expended during the process, we can collect that.
Sure, he gets his money back, as far as his out-of-pocket expenses.
That's correct. We can collect that, but we cannot stop them from redeeming the property.
Okay.
Commissioner Lynch?
Let me be clear. Why are you saying that it's taken from October to the day before my birthday? For his stuff to be cleared up?
Well, they're either on an ordinance that has just gone to final passage and we've sent it to the city to be declared surplus, or it's on maybe on the ordinance you're introducing today. It typically takes us that long to get them on there. I mean, we've got 1,500 applications upstairs.
Oh, okay. Are you getting a stamp from the city on the ones that we're hand delivering now that?
No, I'm not, but I probably should, but I hand deliver it to the supervisor of property management, no one else.
A stamp or something, just saying that they received it because I don't want.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen again.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cox?
Pass.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, sir.
I guess what I'm also hearing too is that the policy does not meet exactly what we're actually doing.
About what?
I think he's mentioned something about a 10-day process that's being extended past the 10 days.
That's because it would have all been completed within 10 days if we hadn't had that drop in communications with the city. In other words, when I brought Mr. Smith in to sign his deed, we'd collected his money, he'd have signed it, we'd have sent it down the hall for Dr. Wilson's signature, and then we'd have sent it downstairs for the mayor's signature. At the most, that whole deal would have taken 10 days. At the most, it takes me a week to get it back from the mayor's office.
Okay, so basically, if it's this isolated incident, it's taking more than a week to get it back from the city.
Well, they got to declare it surplus before he can sign it.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is, if our policy is stipulating us to do this within 10 days, but then it's contingent upon the city to do what they got to do, we can't have it in our procedure to say 10 days, because the city could drag along 2 months.
They typically, like I say, we've been doing this since 2000, and we've never had this problem before. They typically, as soon as we send it, they get it on the city council's next agenda, they declare it surplus, it's got to lay over 10 days, and it's a done deal. But there's a problem in between, we've got copies of letters that we sent to the city asking them to declare numerous properties surplus, and the city is contending they never received those letters. So we had to basically reinvent the wheel and send them new letters.
Okay, so typically, when they do receive the letter, then it does work within the 10-day process?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, like I say, never more than a week to get it back from downstairs once I've sent it. And it takes us a day or two to get Dr. Wilson's, and we're good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
Again, just to protect our interests and any embarrassment to the parish, I think you need to get a commissioner.
That's a good idea. We can do that.
Usually when people come to receive date, I think that would be something to help protect our interests. When people can direct their frustration to the right government body.
And I think part of it on those notices, in the past, we had emailed them, and there were some email problems and stuff, and so I got with my counterpart at the city, and I said, let's do away with the email, let's just do a hard copy letter, which I will hand deliver to you, and we shouldn't have that anymore.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
let's go.
Go for it.
Just sit down.
One of my great concern is, like he stated, maybe we might want to revise this 10 days or whatever we want to do, because like you said, you sell something that was not even redeemed as surplus, but now I take some money out of my account and put in, and then it turns back around at the end of it. Because if it was redeemed as surplus, that house would have been sold, I would have got a deed and everything, but now,
Yeah.
you see,
Yes, sir.
so, you know, we're going to revise this right here, because I'm not the only person, I'm just standing for a small body of us that comes down that's really complaining. They was like, I can't make it, but I will make it to the next meeting to voice my concern, and a lot of it are the same thing I'm saying. So, all I'm saying is, if it's not going to be deemed as surplus, don't take my money. I can leave my money in my account, when it's deemed as surplus, then take my money. I got receipts and everything, thinking I have a house, and then I'll turn back around, oh, they redeemed it. But if it was deemed as surplus, they would never had to been able to come back and redeem it, because it was only within 10 days. But now that it's set on their desk for a month, yeah, they can come back and redeem it.
That's right.
Oh, I mean, you know, I'm just saying, maybe we can just clear that up.
Okay. One take.
Thank you so much. Oh, Commissioner Cox, oh, he's gone now. Thank you so much.
Deal before you leave.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we move to visitors.
Thank
So, Mr. Jack Sharp, President of the Biomed Research Foundation. I think we
You're
actually
not Jack Sharp.
we have someone else, actually.
You're long way from Jack Sharp.
You're no Jack
April Fools.
That's a happy April.
My name's John George.
Please state your name and
Caddo,
address.
249 LB Road, longtime resident of Caddo Parish. President Baker and Commissioners, I just came here today to inform y'all about what's going on with the Biomedical Research Foundation and the LSU HSC Hospital. I appreciate y'all giving me this time and inviting me to update y'all. Recently, you may have read in the paper that we entered into a memorandum of understanding with LSU Board of Supervisors to look into and explore the opportunity to partner with LSU to keep their mission to be a safety net hospital in our parish. The problem, if y'all aren't aware, is that they've had a decrease in funding in the hospital over this last year of $25 million from the state, which equates to another $75 million from the federal government, which they've had a cut of $100 million to the hospital. It's unsustainable at this time, and so the governor asked for the LSU Board of Supervisors, who manage and operate the hospitals, to look for partners to come up with a solution to take care of our hospitals and med school. They also, in our case, we have an underfunding of our med school in the city, which is under higher ed, which is another piece of what LSU Board of Supervisors manages. So we have a two-pronged problem of underfunding of the hospital and underfunding of the med school. Our goal and the reason why the Biomedical Research Foundation entered into this memorandum of understanding was to try to preserve both these missions. The mission of education of our medical students and the service of the safety net hospital for our region. We're trying to find a stabilized funding source for the hospital. Of course, everybody recognizes why we need that, but the most glaring is that next year we come under accreditation for our medical school, and their guidelines state that we need to have stable funding. And as y'all all know, the state has not been able to do that for us in the last 3 or 4 years. We've been cut every year, along with higher ed. One of our missions is to figure out if we can do this. The Biomed Foundation, which I'm presently the interim CEO, is trying to work with LSU to see if this is a solvable problem. The memorandum of understanding is just an exploration tool, so I could go to our board and ask them for funds to hire consultants to look at the possibility of helping LSU. Of course, the biggest question that we have every time someone asks us is what's going to happen to the employees at LSU. My answer is I don't know at this point. I'm interviewing KPMG and Hurd Mackerel and Vestal, two accounting firms, to come in to help devise a plan that might be one that we use to help transition these employees from off the state payroll to whatever payroll that we use going forward. This is a very liquid process. We've been working on it for 6 months with the local hospitals here in town, hoping that they would be our partners. Recently, the negotiations haven't worked out with them for one reason or another. And so the Biomed has decided to take on this mission themselves and see if we can't solve the problem. I can answer any questions on structure, but again, that's really to be determined at this point. I think we've given some structures out there, but until we have some more information on how we're going to do this, we have a three-pronged approach. LSU's one negotiation, but DHH is another one. So how to get this funded and how to make this all work is still, we're still working on it. I've told you about the graduate medical education, and I'll take any questions if y'all have any questions that I can answer.
Commissioner Epperson?
What was that name again, sir?
John George.
John Jordan?
George,
G-O-R-G-E?
You got it.
Okay. Mr. George, Jack, how's Jack?
He's doing great. Jack retired.
Jack retired?
Yeah, Jack's been trying to retire for 3 years, and we were able to keep him 3 years, and he finally said his retirement date, and I saw him today. He was going to the social service to see if he could get his retirement check.
Initially, I had questioned a news article that was published in the paper prior to the article that you're referring to now, as far as the role of the BMR in operating or taking over, managing, or partnering with somebody to take over the LSU, I guess, medical center as well as the hospital. And Mr. Wilson, you did state to me that Jack Sharp said that that article was false.
That's correct.
Okay. So now we hear something different. Do you have a copy of you say you got a memorandum of agreement from the LSU board?
I do, and it's on, I did not bring one, but I can get you one. It's on the LSU website, and I'll be glad to send all y'all the copy of the memorandum of agreement. It's a non-binding agreement, so it says a bunch of stuff, but
does that change the mission of the biomedical research?
We're hoping not. I mean,
that would change the mission?
We're hoping not to change.
Now you aren't involved in operating or managing or whatever it is you're going to do with the hospital.
It's our boards.
And that would not change the mission of the BMR?
Well, how we're looking at this is that the LSU hospital would probably come under the umbrella of the 501c of the Biomedical Research Foundation. The mission that we currently have will probably wall that off and have two entities, and the hospital will have its own unique board to take care of the hospital's issues. And the biomedical research, even though still being under the same 501c3, will still run its own mission that we have now, currently.
So that's all you'd be the name only? Your board won't have any, say, hiring, firing, directing, funding, securing contracts? You don't know at this point in time?
Well, the truth is we don't know, but it is what we believe and what we've discussed, because there's a lot of difference between thinking about something and actually legally being able to do it, is we want the LSU to have its own board. I don't know if you read, but we also have Monroe is going to stay in with underneath LSU's umbrella. Right now, LSU manages two other hospitals, Alexandria and Monroe. And it's the intent of LSU and the intent of our board to keep Monroe connected with LSU. So we're probably going to have a board that has some representation from Monroe on it also. And we think that it's going to, at this point in time, we believe that we're going to have and the BRF are going to have their own board to manage the hospital.
Okay, so is there anything in writing that the BMR submitted to, I guess, the is it LSU board?
Board of Supervisors.
Right, Board of Advisors. Did you all submit anything in writing, any proposals?
Just
as to what your mission would be?
Right. We went, the Biomedical Research Foundation presented to them last week, and they told them pretty much about what I'm telling you now.
So you just verbally made a presentation
Right.
to them?
That's right. And we have, the only thing that we have in writing is the MOU. And the MOU basically, and I'll get it to you, states, everything that our intentions are, and that it's a non-binding MOU. It's still an exploration tool to see if we can even do this. And if we can do this, we'll go from an MOU to a cooperative endeavor agreement. The cooperative endeavor agreement will actually be the contract that states everything that we can do and will be responsible for. And LSU will be responsible for us. And the third party is Department of Health and Hospitals. So it's a three-way sort of negotiations. The Biomed, LSU, Department of Health and Hospitals.
Do you see any funding of the current tax millage that we have in place for the BMR that will be utilizing you all commission?
It's not our intention right now to use that to anything for the hospital. It's going to be stay with the Biomedical Research Foundation and Economic Development, which y'all intended it for.
Okay. What about with this proposal? What role would you say the Caddo Parish Commission would play?
Well, as we do now, anytime that we have a project, we end up doing the project and then we submit it to y'all's okay that it met the standard of what the millage was for. And I'm pretty sure that we'll continue. I'm pretty sure we will continue that process.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Epperson. Commissioner Lynn?
Dr. George, thank you for the leadership that you have provided, and in this community, you have certainly earned it, and I have a lot more confidence in the Biomedical Research Institute with you at the helm. Thank you for taking part.
Appreciate that.
That's all, Madam President.
Ditto. Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I kind of want to mirror, echo some of the comments Commissioner Epperson made, Doc. I haven't met you. I have a good relationship with Dr. Sharp. Years ago, when they was dreaming of the biomedical research with Virginia Sheehy involved and many others, I had the opportunity to fly around the country and see other biomedical research foundations. But I don't feel we haven't really met our mark and our mission based on the investment, the initial investment the citizens made several years ago. Currently, it's a 2.5, it's a 1.6 million, 7 million, which creates $2.5 million to operate their facility. And not only do we are today, we're talking about taking a non-profit public facility, partnering up with the state, and by the state not taking the federal money, Obamacare, to trickle down, it affects the poor people all over the state. And now, and then we are in the 21st, we're talking about negotiating a state public facility. And now we're talking about turning it into a public-private partnership. And surely that's going to be some, once you agree to enter an agreement, the parish definitely have an investment role to play. Someone from this body, the administrator need to be in the negotiation when it comes, because the parish citizens deserve a role to play at the table negotiating because they made the initial investment.
Right.
So we need to have a representative. I don't know if it's the parish president, parish administrator, but they definitely need to be at the table to negotiate the future of biomed and what's going on with the state institution. So that's number one I want you to take to your board. If the state would take the Obamacare money, we wouldn't be having a discussion. Maybe not. Maybe we'd take the uninsured money for the poor, the Medicaid money. We probably wouldn't be having this discussion. So maybe the governor and the legislature need reconsider the position and take the money. We won't be having this quasi type of discussion today. It's unfair to the poor people in the state. It's unfair to the doctors. It's unfair to the employees, the public employees, because now when you become private, surely they're going to be affected by the hiring, their benefits. What's going to happen to their benefit? The hiring, the procurement contract. Now that these people gave this state all these years to serve, to help the poor at LSU, now they don't know their future is questionable. So while you're making the decision, put yourself in those positions where people that's been working for LSU for 20 and 30 and 40 years, what's going to happen to their pension, their retirement? employment. I mean, a lot is on the line. We can't take light and slight of that. So hopefully, when that time does come, because the citizens of Caddo Parish made the initial investment for Biomed to even be existing, we should have someone at the table to discuss the future of Biomed.
That's it, Ms. Lee?
I'm just saying, if that's something you would take back to.
I will take that back, and I want you to know personally that we are sensitive to all those issues. This is not a light undertaking. First I would like to address a couple of things that you said. One of the reasons that I took this job is to represent our community, okay? So I am representing our community in these negotiations. Second thing is, the Obama money, here's the problem. The problem is, it's not about the state taking care of this hospital. It's about giving the community the control to make the decisions to maneuver a hospital in a regulatory environment that is not conducive for governmental agencies to have, okay? They can't maneuver fast enough. As we're doing this, Obamacare, for example. Obamacare is a great thing, but it's only good if we move this entity outside of state government. Because as long as it stays in state government, all it's going to do is create a financial cliff later on like we're facing right now. I agree with you that if we can use Obamacare to help us transition this hospital, that would probably be a good thing. That's not in my preview to make those decisions. My preview is to take what we've been given and try to make the best of it. But I give you myself, I'm doing this to protect the employees, the people, the staff at LSU. I went there. I love that place. I've given back. I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm telling you, President Baker will tell you that it's a passion of mine. And I think we have, as an economic engine in this community, we cannot let this fail. This is as y'all well know, this is our largest economic engine in this region besides maybe Barksdale. And we cannot afford not to give it the best opportunity for success. And I think what the BRF is proposing is the best thing we have on the table. Now, is it Plan A? Absolutely not. Is it Plan B? Absolutely not. Is it Plan C? Absolutely not. I'd say it's probably down there around Z, okay? But it is a plan, and we're going to try to accomplish it. We're going to be working, with the state, with LSU, with our community leaders, hand in hand, trying to make this work. So that's my pledge to you.
But first of all, I don't have a lot of confidence in the state government right now.
Yeah.
Secondly, I have a lot of confidence in you, and I'll be looking for your leadership and your vision to make sure that poor people in the state of Louisiana, one of the poorest states in the country, poorest education in the country. So when you have a lot of poor people, you have a lot of illiteracy. And it flows back, if people don't get quality health care, that means more costs for us as taxpayers. If you have a car that needs a radiator and a radiator busts, you have to buy a new motor. But if you fix your radiator, you still keep your car in that context. So what I'm saying is that ensure while you in the negotiation rooms that you think about the little Johnny down at the bottom, grandmama at the bottom.
Absolutely.
And go to LSU for help.
Right.
And now it's in a private entity. They're not going to probably get the public service they need because most people look at people as a figure and a dollar bill. It ain't about service then. Mm-hmm. You take the caring out of it when you make it more private. But I believe, because I was born there, it was Confederate.
Right.
I was born at LSU. And a lot of my people that live in my district need LSU.
Right.
There are a lot of senior citizens need LSU. There are people on this body that don't have insurance need LSU.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So I just hope
it's not going to be easy. I will tell you that. I hope that y'all will continue to support us. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you it's going to be a piece of cake. I'm not even sure it can be accomplished. But I am here to tell you that I'm willing to work really hard to try to make it work. I'm going to hire the best people that I can hire to try to make it work. When we're finished with this thing, I think that, you know, it's not going to take just my effort, it's going to take y'all's efforts, it's going to take the city's efforts, it's going to take all of North Louisiana's effort. When they put Monroe in this thing, it made it even more complicated. And so we have to be respectful for, some of the poorest parishes in the state, in the northeast quarter, and we got to make sure that we do this thing right. And
You want to make sure you be inclusive, make sure minorities in the hiring practice. Make sure that minorities are being inclusive in the hiring practice if they come to fruition.
Right.
I'll be watching.
Oh, yeah.
Got my eyes on it. But thank you for coming.
Commissioner Escudé.
Maybe to simplify things, I think that maybe there's something the point that needs to be iterated. The bottom line, as I understand, is this: the state is no longer going to fund LSU.
That's right.
For the most part. Is that correct?
It's a little bit more than that. It's the federal government started the process, okay?
Okay, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's not going to be publicly funded by the government anymore.
They do not, from what I understand, and our legislators probably will have a better handle on this shortly when they go into session, but it's my understanding that there's not enough money in the budget to cover our hospital system across the state.
So they've sold off and done partnerships down south and other state-owned hospitals.
They're doing it as
They're doing it right now. In fact, they're actually, if I understand, there's a couple in South Louisiana. They have not appropriated them any money based on the fact that a deal that's not even really is only being negotiated now will be consummated by the new budget year. And if it's not, there's just no money at all for these operations.
And I do want to make this point so there's no confusion. Some people say, well, North Louisiana is in the budget, why push this process? That's as they negotiate for the monies that we have in DHH to support these hospitals, my contention is we don't want to be the last one at the table, okay? There's only going to be so much that they can figure out, and so I am personally pushing this, so I don't want anybody to think that there's not a reason for that, to expedite things. So we're trying to catch up and negotiate along with the other cooperative endeavors from the South, and they're in that process right now.
But in essence, the state is getting out of the hospital provider business.
Yes.
The governor's, that's what he's doing, whether we want it or not, that's what they're doing. So what we're talking about here is saving this institution.
That's right.
Willis-Knighton has got out of negotiations, Shumpert has, so there's nobody else that's come to the table that says we want to try to work something out to keep this hospital open. That's when Biomed decided to step up.
That's right.
So the bottom line is if you're not successful, then the money runs off, that thing's going to close. So I agree with what Mr. Millions is saying, but I think maybe our focus ought to be not so much on jobs and people's retirement and everything and worry about things that are already there. The reality is none of that's going to matter if we don't get something done because that institution's going to shut down. And that's what it comes down to. Whether we want to shut down or not.
That's a pretty good assessment of it, but I think Commissioner Williams makes a great point. We got to be sensitive to these needs.
I know he makes a great point, but we have to keep it open first before we can do anything for anybody, or then it's all moot. And that's the greater issue, and that's what I think I'd like for everybody to understand here today, that this is the only option being negotiated out there to try to keep this hospital open. There's no other moves. Now, I do know this, and I suspect this. LSU closed tomorrow, based on, we've got Willis-Knighton and Shumpert and a couple of other, but we don't have the capacity to serve this area without LSUS, MC, do we? We don't have beds.
I don't believe that. I agree with you is what I'm saying.
Yes. I mean, then we'd be underserved.
Right.
And the only reason that I think, yes, and my last question to you is I suspect, and I'm not an expert on this, but this problem started years ago when private hospitals started accepting Medicaid. That gave people a choice to go to Shumpert or to go to Willis-Knighton, because before that you went to LSU or nothing. So basically the government, the state hospitals, is competing for the same money and the same patients and quality of care with other people. And if they have an option, if you have an option and your insurance, if it's Medicare or Medicaid, so to speak, says you can go anywhere you want, you know, if you've got trauma, I want to go to LSU. You know, if I've got something else that's, you know, a little elbow surgery or something, I want a nice bigger room all to myself at Willis Knighton. So, but in essence, if I get you right, the problem is this is the only thing we've got working right now to save this hospital and this medical school is what you're trying to do.
That's right.
Well, I'm willing to help you, assist you, and I think I can speak for everybody on this body, any way we can to help that become a reality until something better comes along. And then we'll throw you the wolves.
We're going to need all your help, I promise you.
Commissioner Epperson?
I pass.
Okay. Anyone else?
That's final comment, since you said it. The one you said, the federal government matches 100 million, 75 million?
It's 25, they're about a it's about a three-time match. Every dollar the state puts in, the federal government puts in $3.
This current government have not,
That's right.
one of the states in America have not agreed to accept Obamacare money to help the poor.
Right.
Okay, that's another phase why this hospital is in bad shape.
That's what I said, is the governor. We're
right.
the governor.
Not the government, but the governor.
Yes, governor.
It's a big difference in the government and the governor, because I believe those state legislators want to help the
Well,
poor.
I agree with you.
Say 75 million, matches 25, $75 million.
Right, and that comes from the federal government. So we get paid to take care of the uninsured. The problem is the state doesn't have the dollar so the feds can put up the $3. That's the problem. So every time they cut us, we're not able to get the $3 from the federal government. So
There's no
that's even before Obamacare.
There's no statute for education and for health care to fund. And everything get cut, education and
Right.
health care.
That's right.
That's all I want to know.
Thank you so much, Mr. George.
Thank you all.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. See you tomorrow.
Next, we have Mr. Lawrence Guidry, Executive Director for the Caddo Community Action Agency.
Good evening, I'm Lawrence Guidry, and my address is 620 East 85th Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. I come before you today to thank you for your support of the Caddo Community Action Agency and its programs. I gave you an updated brochure that was on your desk this afternoon to show you the services we are providing for the citizens of Caddo and Shreveport. Also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the recent total review that we was just completed. They sent us back the results of the class observations. When they say class observation, that's the classroom only. So we've got that back, and of course, if you look at the domains or what have you, we scored well above the average and what have you in terms of scoring, in terms of our classroom organization, positive climate, teacher sensitivity, regards to student perspective, classroom organization, behavior management, productivity, instructional learning formats. And the third domain, of course, is under the instructional support, was where we were the weakest. But everybody in America is weak in that area because it's the newest of the model and measuring sticks. However, we are above the national average. The national average is below 2 in that area, and of course, and we scored at 2.3.135. They're going to take a look at that category once all the programs were scheduled to be reviewed this year and see what that average will be at the end of the year. But based on what is happening around now, most people are scoring in the area of 1.8 to 1.9, and we did get to 2.3, but we were glad for that. And of course, with the other parts of the evaluation that they do every 3 years, we have not received that report back yet. They usually take about 120 days, but on the class portion, they wanted to get it back quickly so that we could start taking any corrective actions that might be needed, because our Head Start school year ends in May. I did want to ask for your support for the resolution authorizing the agency to operate the program for an additional year on your behalf. I want to talk a little bit about a email I sent to each one of you commissioners on March 18th to tell you how we were going to handle our sequester cut. They asked all programs nationwide to cut their program by 5%. In our case, that meant $500,000. We were able to do it through this current school year that ends in May without losing or furloughing any employee. We just delayed some things that we just decided that was not absolutely necessary, but was going to be needed down the road, but not necessary right now. So therefore, we made those cuts by just closing down 1 week earlier. And of course, we also closed down our Family Service Advocates operation 1 week earlier. We are not replacing environmental tech at Brown E. Moore. We are not replacing the early Head Start supervisor. That responsibility is going to go to Mr. Bradley and myself to do that. And that person retired. And of course, we saved on utility costs also for the 1 week. And now, what's the negative effect of the sequestration is going to be, is we're going to begin in the fall. Because what we will lose then is 80 children that we would have enrolled that we will not be able to enroll. And that 80 will be for 10 years. So that'll be almost 1,000 children over the next 10 years if they don't change the sequestration. And of course, that's the negative effect. But we will still have 1,568 children in the program instead of 1,648. We'll have 80 less. Now that's because of the way our centers are located and the way the makeup of it, majority or all of the 80 losses will be in the inner city if it comes to fruition. What I tried to do was get them to agree to let us start a week later next year and don't lose anybody. But they said no. We have to go with the cut for next year. So that's where we are. We hope that something will break out and that there will be no cuts. But we prepared ourselves for it and we are ready for it. And that's our way of doing it and being as least disruptive as possible to the children in which we serve. And I'll answer any questions anybody.
No question.
First of all, I want to just thank you and what you guys do for our poor children, all children, especially those poor children in rural in America and inner city Shreveport. Without jumping start with Head Start, ain't no telling where our kids would be. So I hate to see the government sequester eventually hurt the most least of these. It's the poor families and the poor children. America will always balance the budget of the backs of the poor. To no fault at all, they born in this poorness. To no fault at all, and we're supposed to try to be the fishing net to catch it. But I hope that there'll be a change of heart in Congress. They're so dysfunctional up there. They don't understand what's really going on down here on ground zero in America. And hopefully they will come to them senses, come to themselves up there. They're hurting a lot of people. Veterans are hurting. Poor people are hurting. Middle class people are hurting because of the mess going on up there in Congress. And it trickled down to us. No funded mandate, then we have to fill the void. And hopefully, if you come to that, you have my support, anything to help those children.
Thank you.
And just keep up the good work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry, for coming.
Thanks, Mr. Guidry.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Stacy Brown, Executive Director of the Shreveport-Bossier Convention and Tourist Bureau.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Stacy Brown, President, Shreveport-Bossier Convention Tourist Bureau, and I'm here representing the Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission today. Kelly Wells was not able to be with us. He had a little emergency he needed to take care of. So I just wanted to come and first of all say thank you very much to the Caddo Parish Commission for your assistance of the Sports Commission. Because of that work, we are able to produce a number of events throughout the year. So the list you're receiving right now is a list of those events for 2013. Now, those events, we provide a variety of assistance. It may just be that we provide some volunteers, some assistance running the event, or it may be that we're the full-service agency. For example, the Bassmaster Classic, where we provide transportation, marketing, advertising, public relations, help run the event and coordinate it. There are a variety of events with a variety of types of assistance. With me today, I have Susie Sanchez, who is our sports salesperson. She does a lot of work with the events and getting them to come to Shreveport-Bossier and assisting them while they're here, as well as Teresa Michaels. She is our volunteer manager, which pretty much all of the events require volunteers. Some of them several hundred volunteers, some of them just a few. But throughout the year, we've been able to provide thousands of hours of assistance to events through the volunteers. One event we held recently was the Louisiana High School Athletic Association regional semifinals, their basketball championships. We were able to exceed the attendance expectations of the Louisiana High School Athletic Conference. And as one of our thank yous, we brought a game ball, and it was signed by all of the coaches that participated. And Dr. Wilson, if you wouldn't mind coming down.
Yes, ma'am.
To receive that.
Oh, pass it to him. You want me to?
Pass it.
We don't pass it.
I don't doubt his ability to catch. I doubt my ability to throw appropriately.
Well, thank you, Stacey. I appreciate it. No, on behalf of the commission, we appreciate this, and we'll put it in a nice place down here on display.
Great. Thank you very much.
Does a player come with it?
Come on, Dr. J.
That's what I want. Dr. J.
We also just hosted the All-Star Basketball Championships for the girls and the boys. Some of you were able to come to that, and if you did, you saw some players from Southwood and Bossier High School were also there, as well as a number of other throughout the region. It was a very well-attended game, and that happened at Centenary College. Another thing I'd like to say a thank you for, you helped us specifically with the TBS State High School Bass Tournament out on Caddo Lake. Larry Raymond was instrumental in helping us to gather a number of events such as that, and Henri is helping us in the future as well. So thank you very much for all of that. Some of the things coming up very quickly that you may be interested in. You'll see that coming up, the Cabosa Red River Classic is a very big soccer tournament that's held in our region. We also have gymnastics. For those that are a little more adventurous, the Mud Fears Me Mud Run, the Quad State Bass Tournament, the tennis tournaments. So we have really a variety of events that are coming up you may want to check out. So if you have any questions for me, I would be glad to entertain those.
Commissioner Johnson.
Ms. Brown, I commend you guys for putting together this sheet for us to know exactly what's going on with the sports commission. When I went to our state conference, I sat in a workshop seminar with our lieutenant governor, and he made some statements about how South Louisiana, he was basically talking about South Louisiana the whole time. And one of the statements that really caught my ear was that the state of Louisiana gave the NFL $6 million to bring the Super Bowl to Louisiana. And then from that, the economic development was over $431 million to the state of Louisiana. Well, most of that money is going to stay south of I-10. And I told him, I said, we need to try to come up with ways to bring money north of I-10 and specifically into Shreveport, Caddo, Parish. One of the things that he did say that they do is that they do funding for our festivals and things of that sort. But what I want to try to see is how we can put more pressure on the entities below I-10 to bring some of those events to Shreveport. Basically, like, I know we did the regional basketball for the Louisiana High School Association, but being that we are the third largest city in the state of Louisiana, we should have the championship game.
And that is a very good possibility for next year.
Okay, so we need to keep pushing for that as well. And also, some of the, take advantage of, I guess, the most people feel that this is East Texas anyway. So see about if we can get some of the exhibition games, at least one exhibition game, see if the Cowboys will come this way, or see if the Saints will leave out of New Orleans for one instance to bring people to Shreveport. We got a stadium. It's a state-of-the-art stadium that I would say. We spend a lot of money to maintain it. So let's use it more than what we use it for.
Absolutely.
And get some big ticket items that will help fund a lot of these smaller ticket items, and then we can try to go after some other things. But we don't have to step out and get something bigger than a lot of these. I mean, these are good, but they really don't hit the home run. They're more like singles and doubles.
Our biggest event for this year is the FLW Forestwood Cup. It's very similar to the Bassmaster Classic. It'll be hosted at the Shreveport Convention Center, the CenturyLink Center, and the Red River South Marina. It will be very similar to Bassmaster in a number of ways, but different in others. Similar in that it has the expo and the weigh-in at the same venues. They actually have more fishermen in the FLW Forestwood Cup, and they fish more days. Their organization is not as strong yet as Bass, so their attendance may not be quite as much on the visitation side, but it's a very similar overall economic
What's
impact.
the potential economic impact off of that?
Around 20 million.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
I just want to say, again, to echo, appreciate all the excitement that's going on over there, doing a great job. I met with the Juvenile Justice Committee meeting. We are looking for fundamental activity to do this summer, to develop a master plan for youth, all youth from Caddo Parish in the city, especially those that are at risk. And I see where you have some expertise in that area, and I hope the clerk, we want to reach out to them, invite them to our next meeting, and maybe have some input and help us come up with some a master plan for the summer, for our summer youth.
And I'm sorry, what organization was that again?
It's the Juvenile Justice Committee.
Okay, we will reach out to them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Escaday?
Stacey, when we had our basketball regional state championship regional tournament up here, now, I know this, but we beat everybody in attendance, all the other areas. What regional? It's not a sports town or this town, they won't show up. If you give them quality stuff, you know, they show up. And to reaffirm what you told Mr. Johnson, we do have a really good shot at the Nationals. You have to realize that the sports commissions had to repair a lot of damage done by the previous organization with the Louisiana High School Sports Association. Had to mend our bridges and make a new relationship and gain their trust, and I think we're doing that a lot faster than we thought we would have. So people will turn out, and we traditionally compete not so much with New Orleans for these things. Baton Rouge, Lafayette's a big player that really goes after these things, and they tend to pay money. But that's why, as you know, that the Sports Commission and the Independence Bowl are proposing fee adjustment for the hotel motels. And that's where the money's going to come from to get the events that you spoke about, Lyndon, to get them to come here, because they don't come here without incentive. And it's almost like economic development now. You want a factory, you want a steel mill, you almost have to go out and buy it. You got to bid on it. And just the nature of the beast. And the more we have in the kitty, the more quality, events that we can get here. Things will turn out. The Independence Bowl, for example, as we all know, people will turn out for quality matchups. They turned out for Tech and A&M, and that was a nothing game to nobody. But our Independence Bowl were two teams that I was real excited about it. I'm sorry to my friends in Monroe and whoever the other team was. I can't remember. It's that insignificant. But anyway, I appreciate the work you're doing and the results you're showing. And if you look over this list, they support a lot of events, and they're quite diverse, and they're all over the map, from horseshoe tournaments to whatever. But it's about trying to get something to happen here every weekend, so that our hotel rooms are full every weekend rather than just 1 or 2 annual games a year or something like that. So I think we've made good progress, and I want to thank you and your team for your effort.
Thank you. In addition to the Independence Bowl, which receives national television coverage, 2 of our other events do, one being the Forest Wood Cup. We also have the National Collegiate Wakeboard Championships, and that will have CBS sports coverage as well. So that's another terrific event. We didn't have to spend nearly as much money on that event, but it will bring, large crowds as well as great national television coverage.
What was that, national what?
The Wakeboard Championships, Collegiate Nationals.
May,
Okay.
24th to 26th.
That thing on the water, or something on the water, whatever that.
Commissioner Lynch? What is that?
Right, let me say in the essence of full disclosure, Commissioner Escalade sits on this board of the Sports Commission, so that's why he's rah-rahing so today.
I don't do the work, I'm just saying I appreciate their efforts.
Let me ask you about the funding for the organization. How is the organization funded for 2013?
It is funded mainly by the Convention and Visitors Bureaus. The 2 cities and the 2 parishes have also made commitments. We have been able to get a commitment from the Red River Waterway Commission to assist with the Forest Wood Cup, $60,000. Then we have also been working very diligently to secure sponsorships. Horseshoe Casino is a major sponsor for the FLW Forest Wood Cup, both with cash and in kind. So we have been able to generate a number of private dollars as well as public funds.
Let me ask you, on the, when you say the convention bureaus, how much are they putting in this year?
One of the things we've done is with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, for the Sports Commission, the operations of the Sports Commission are within the Bureau's regular budget. So all the staffing, the advertising, the trade shows, all of those kind of things are done within the Bureau's budget.
Okay.
We then have an events budget, and that's what the cities and the parishes help put money into, is strictly the events. In the events budget, the Bureau has put in additional $200,000 into that budget.
Okay.
Then some additional money into the Forest Wood Cup budget as well.
Oh, okay. And you said you had a commitment or you have money from the other governing bodies?
We have commitments, and we've just sent out the invoices, so we should be receiving
That's
those.
for Bossier Parish?
Bossier City, Bossier Parish, Caddo Parish, and the City of Shreveport.
Do you know if that was in their budget or is this out of budget?
I believe pretty much all of them, it was in their budget because the request was made last year
Okay.
during the budget process.
All righty. And on the list here, can you delineate which ones are actually bid? I mean, not right now, but can you get that to me? Which ones that we actually put a bid in on?
There are several that we actually bid on, and then there are some that we have to provide other funding for that to come here, but we didn't actively go out and seek that. The basketball, LHSAA state basketball, this high school bass fishing, the all-star basketball game, the Bassmaster
No, you can
Open.
give it to me later. I just
Okay.
want to be able to make sure which ones we actually bid on,
Okay.
and then I can work from there. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Dominic?
Hey, Stacy, appreciate you coming. Couple questions. The wakeboard, where's it gonna be at?
It will be on the Red River, actually right in downtown area, so you'll be able to watch it from Festival Plaza.
The next question, and I don't know if you know anything about this or not, like Commissioner Epperson had asked it. Did we know anything about, another sports baseball team? And what about the baseball park out there? I heard it was just in pretty bad shape. Do you have any idea or know
The
anything
city of
about that?
Shreveport has been doing some work there, and I believe they have some money in the bond issue there as well. Are you talking about Fairgrounds Field or
Yeah.
Cargill Park?
No, Fairgrounds
Fairgrounds Field.
Captains in the sports used to play. is what I
They
was-
have been doing some work out there, and I believe there is money in the bond issue to work on that
Heard
facility
anything
as well.
about any type of
We don't have anything definite on,
minor league or anything like that?
not at this point.
Okay.
Commissioner Johnson?
Stacy, one more other question I forgot to ask. I don't see anything about the Red River Classic or Shreveport Classic, and then the Classic that they have during the fair. Are those been taken off the table or still pursuing those games or what?
Some of it depends on the universities and whether or not those matchups are happening or can happen. At this point, they're not definites yet, so they're not on the calendar. But some of those are in discussions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your help.
Next item.
Next, we move to reports, the administration report. What time is it?
Oh, love.
Yes, I have a few. Commissioners, good afternoon. We had Mr. Sandy Davis here today and talked to us about the urgent budget requirement that he has. He got bored and stepped out. That's all right, move on. Yeah.
Somebody go get it.
Come back early.
Next item.
Okay. All right, the next item I have on my list is I want to let you know that you have a budget request from from Mr. John Hubbard, and he represents the Shreveport-Bossier Military Affairs Council, and he's asking to keep the money that we gave him this year for next year's air show because the sequestration canceled the air show for 2013, and he said he'd like to just keep the money that we appropriated and just use it for next year. So just send Commissioner Johnson a letter because it goes to his committee, and I told Mr. Hubbard we'll give him an answer based on the wishes of this board.
Look it up.
Okay? The next item I have is I received a letter from the State Corrections Department saying they'll be ready to give us the Fort Wayne facility on 1 May.
Say it again.
So, Fort Wayne facility out in Keithfield,
Say what?
the Fort Wayne facility in Keithfield, the old jail,
Yeah.
old CCC.
Uh-huh.
Saying that it's ready for a minute, I'll let you go after soon I finish my next statement. So if the board would like for me to proceed with that action,
What about?
the state is honoring our resolution, asking for the facility back. They're ready to give it to us on May 1st.
Okay.
So the ball is rolling at this point, so I guess we will just go ahead and complete the process to get it back. Unless anyone have any other directions you want to give me at this time.
I think the resolution spoke for itself.
Okay, then we shall be getting it back
Okay.
on May 1st.
Sounds good.
Okay, you should have your quarterly litigation report from October of 12 to March 2013 in front of your station.
2 quarters.
Yes, ma'am, 2 quarters.
Where is it?
That should be at your station. I'll have extra copies if you need one, if it's not at your station.
I didn't get one.
Oh, okay, it's in your box. Donna told me it's in
Okay.
in your box, it's in the back. We'll have several copies here. We'll make sure everybody get a copy before they leave.
Okay.
Okay, Todd, did that will work? And then we'll have Mr. Davis come up and give us his presentation.
What?
Okay, just go right to it.
Okay.
Then you just go back.
What is going on?
I need to show you something. We're trying to get the projector to work.
Bless you.
Easy, thank you.
Okay, could you rotate it, Todd? Could you bring it down a little bit, please?
50.
Commissioners?
Erica?
What was that?
That's what my mama was doing. Oh my goodness.
Tomorrow's Commissioner Venge's birthday.
April Fool!
And she'll be nifty 50.
Congratulations.
To go along with that.
You know, we've seen that look in the middle every time we meet.
Yes, definitely.
David.
Yeah, Commissioner Lynch, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We see your hair. And thank you, Todd.
Wait, put that back here.
Davis, you come up and talk to us.
Oh my goodness.
Man, we should work together. Cool Breeze, don't tell them about the donkey story.
We gotta take you out tonight.
Cool Breeze, I don't remember. Cool
Tell them about the mule.
Madam President and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to come speak to you this afternoon. I know we've had a couple other presentations talking about shortfalls in budgets, and I'm no different than anyone else. The only difference is that you do help support the funding from my office. There's documents being passed around that will help with you discerning with this information. I'll wait till Randy gets those passed out, and then I'll go forward. My total operating budget for fiscal year 2013 is $767,707. Of that, $88,115 are pass-through funds. Those are funds that are not used from my office. They come from either the commission or the police jury or the cities or the sheriff's departments to support Hydro Watch and First Call, which are some emergency alert systems that we have. That leaves $679,591.44 to operate off of. I've broken down for you in that column there of the city of Shreveport, all the way through Caddo Sheriff, as to what the percentages of their contribution from those 6 local governmental agencies are. You've been so gracious to always honor my request for our annual operation, and I'm very appreciative of that. For the 2013 budget cycle, I have a problem. We start with our fiscal year starts January 1. The state's fiscal year starts June 1, and the federal fiscal year starts October 1. So we have to try to project what our federal and state grant monies are going to be basically 6 months to 8 months ahead of time. I projected that the contribution from the state of Louisiana through the Metropolitan Medical Response, which is a grant that we've received for about 15 years, that one time was in the neighborhood of $500,000. It was down to $105,000 last year. I knew that wasn't going to be in effect. I asked for an increase in November to my executive council, which Dr. Wilson sits on that to represent you, and the city of Shreveport did grant me an increase of $18,000 that I asked for on that. That was the only one of the 6 governmental agencies. The Emergency Management Performance Grant, which is another federal grant that comes to the state, typically that was split 80-20, 20% to the state, 80% to the parishes. However, because of the shortfall in the state budget this year, the state has chosen to keep 80% of that grant. That's about a $5 million grant that comes to the state of Louisiana that typically was passed through, 80% was passed through to the parishes. They have chosen, as of June 1, to take a 20%, 80% split for the state, 20% for the locals. So I was projecting $194,081 for this fiscal year from that grant, when in fact I'll be getting $62,178. That puts me $118,000 and some change short for this fiscal year, and $236,000 short out of a $679,000 operating budget. The only option that I have, if I don't get an increase from our local contributions, is that I'll have to cut staffing. I currently have 7 staff members. I have 5 full-time, 2 part-time, and we cover 2 parishes. We're the only ones in the state that do that, and there's not just a handful of us in the nation that cover more than 1 county or 1 parish. That memorandum of understanding has been in effect since 1953, between Bossier City, Bossier Parish, Caddo Parish, and the city of Shreveport. So we're the only office in the state that does that. If you look on the second page, what I'm asking for is an amendment to my budget request for 2013 that hopefully we will be able to work out by June 1 to help support the operation of our office. Would be a $13,541.85 increase, the contribution that the Caddo Parish Commission makes to the Caddo Bossier Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. I didn't want to try to put any smoke and mirrors up in front of you, so you'll see in that bottom paragraph that I will be asking for an additional $13,541.85 for the fiscal year 14, but for a total of $27,000 increase over what your contribution has been in the past. So I wanted to be sure you understood that this was not just a one-time request, that it would be a recurring request as of 2014. Now, if I look in the crystal ball, will I have to ask for more money in 2015? If our grants remain the same, I wouldn't. If they don't, then I certainly would have to come back and ask for more. But I wanted to give you this information. It's not incumbent that you take a vote on it today or tomorrow, but I certainly would like to move as quickly on it as I could so I can let my staff know what to expect as far as any layoffs or reductions in benefits, salaries may go. So, Madam President, I would open up for any questions any of the commissioners or yourself may have.
Yes, sir. I have a question now. You're needing this $679,591. Is that what you need?
No, ma'am. That's my operating budget for
That's your
2000,
operating
that's my whole budget for 2013.
And what are you?
What I'm asking for from the Caddo Commission is, you've already agreed to pay me $37,491.72 for this fiscal year. I'm asking for an increase of $13,541.85.
And that will keep your 3 employees?
That keeps everybody, if all 6 governmental agencies agreed to make that contribution, that will keep all of our staff in place.
Now, what if they decide not to keep, what if the other governmental agencies decide?
I'll have to make adjustments according to what my ability to maintain my staffing would be, based upon if City of Shreveport decides, for lack of a better word, to play in the reindeer games, and you choose to, Bossier doesn't, then I'll have to make some staffing adjustments, and I think we probably need to enter in some other discussions at that time if that were the case.
And even if we were to just take care of our part, it still would, if they don't, it still would not keep you from having.
It still wouldn't keep me from being able to have to make some kind of cuts, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Lynch?
Let me say, Sandy, I'm gonna be at the appropriate times supporting your request for this year.
Miss Stephanie, I am hard of hearing, I'm having trouble hearing you, I'm sorry.
To be support, at whatever time we do it, be supporting your request for the increase for 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
2014, we all need to be, who knows
Sure.
what's going to happen in this budget cycle. But I do think, with your agency as well as a whole bunch of other people, I think the sequestration is here to stay. I mean, there are going to be some cuts made.
Yes, ma'am.
To everything, CDBG,
Sure.
everything is gonna be cut. And of course, the state is doing their own, thing. It's gonna be the new normal.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, and I don't know at what point, we'll start having those discussions, but I think everybody is probably acutely aware that some adjustments are gonna have to be made, because we can't just,
Yes, ma'am.
pay our way. I mean, that burden fall on local governments. To some extent, yes, we're willing to step up, and we have. And I appreciate you, when you didn't need more money, you didn't come, inflating your budget. You kept it pretty much the same. Pretty much since I've been here, I think you
Yes, ma'am.
pretty much, kept the same budget, and didn't try to gouge us or.
Yes, ma'am, we have done that, and I'd like, along those lines, if I might, I'd like to remind you, this is not because of some misspending on my part, this is not because I'm increasing my personnel, this is strictly a projected funding stream that I thought I was going to be receiving that I'm not receiving. And we do, I shared with Dr. Wilson and Randy earlier today, we do with 7 people. Baton Rouge, which is our next closest as far as population goes, they got 12 people. They got a director and 12 people. They got 15 people working in Lake Charles, and they run a fire training academy with that as well. So we've done a lot with a little for a long time, and we're going to continue to do that. And if you or the other agencies involved can't see to fund it, then me as a director's got some tough decisions to make, but I promise you on the bad day, you won't know the difference. The difference will come in what we do day in and day out whenever it comes to being prepared for those bad days. We'll just have to reduce our planning, our training, those things that we do day in and day out that are behind the scenes that most folks don't know that we do.
Right. Well,
Thank you.
We appreciate you. We appreciate all that you do, especially during those times of disasters and emergencies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Escudé?
Sandy, it said that the city of Shreveport last year increased their contribution to
Yes, sir, they did. They were at $151,000 or $152,000 for 2012. I'd asked for a 4% across the board increase, which all 6 governmental agencies granted me that request. And then on top of that, the city of Shreveport, when I saw that MMRS was not going to be funded, I asked for their percentage was $18,000 and some change, and they amended their, but they were the only ones not far enough along in the budget cycle to have created a problem for them. So they did increase their contribution by, in rough numbers, by $25,000 from last year. Now, I have not gotten a negative nor a positive answer from them on this request and increase.
So you're going to ask them again for 2013?
Yes, sir.
thought they've already paid that estimated increase.
Yes, sir, that was for a grant, that was for the $105,000 Metropolitan Medical Response Grant that I found out in November was not going to be funded. So that's when I asked for that amendment to my request for 2013. Then, about a month ago, when I got a call from Baton Rouge saying that you're losing another $136,000, that's where this additional request is coming in.
Okay, so you want,
Yes, sir, I'm asking the city of Shreveport to go from,
Yeah, I got it. You want $13,541 from us?
yes, sir,
And then what are you gonna want next year from us?
another $13,541.85 for a total of 26 above what you're paying me now,
To do what with?
to continue the operation of my office and the mitigation, preparation, response, and recovery from disaster.
You already know your budget's gonna increase that much next year?
My budget's not going to increase that much.
That's what he's losing.
My budget has decreased is the reason I'm coming back and asking you. What it is, the pool of money I was getting in the right hand is drawing up, and I'm coming to the left hand and asking for you to supplement and break even with where I am right now.
This is the cause of this is sequester cuts?
Yeah.
Is that
Sir?
cause of this is the sequester
Sequestration.
cuts?
No, so the cause of this is state of Louisiana's budget deficit.
Okay.
They are funding the state level, my equivalent in the state kept an additional $2.1 million to fund their office rather than they're telling the parishes basically that they don't care how they operate. They're keeping $2.1 million to secure their operation so they don't have to make any cuts.
God bless. Okay, but
And it's no secret how I feel about that, by the way.
That's Sunset Acre Bowl coming out of
There you go.
Okay,
Yes, sir, my budget will be $679,000 next year. Same amount of money I'm getting this year, even though I'm asking for an increase from you, because the 13 I'm asking for is a 6-month, it's from June to December. So for 2014, for the full 12 months, I need 36.
and you anticipate that the state, this cut's permanent?
Yes, sir. I anticipate this grant will eventually go away, like all federal grants have. One problem that we have, if I could give you just a brief 30-second history, my predecessor didn't depend heavily upon local funding. He let federal and state grants fund the office to where the expectations of the locals were low because the funding was low from the locals. What I've tried to do over the past 8 years ago today, I took over this position, by the way, not nearly my birthday, not nearly as a big a celebration, but 8 years ago, I saw the handwriting on the wall, I felt like, because I'm involved with a lot of state, local, federal committees, I felt like that this federal money was going to dry up and we could no longer depend upon it to deliver the level of service you've become accustomed. So I have slowly, 2%, 4% at a time, increased the local contribution in anticipation of getting off that federal dole. And it just didn't, it happened quicker than I thought it was going to happen. I've been working toward that end and if we get some type of grant increase, then we would, of course, apply that toward our emergency preparedness. I wouldn't increase my staffing, I wouldn't increase salaries, benefits, those kind of things. It would be, we get something extra that we had not anticipated. I hate depending upon those grants for my operation.
So you want to depend solely mostly on local governments?
That's correct. I am a local governmental agency. I should be supported by local government.
Well, you weren't initially, you knew that when you took that job. That's a debatable thing. You know, I understand that some of it should be supplied, you know, but you want to maintain your level, and that's a good thing too. I understand that. But, you know, hopefully we can continue the level of service. Okay.
Commissioner Williams?
This is Saturday.
Yes, sir.
How you keep your hair so neat, man? How you do that? How you keep your hair
Little
so...
Bill cream,
Yeah.
little dab of do you?
Little dab of do you.
You love to run your fingers through your hair, you ain't old enough to remember that.
But saying that, I want to say I appreciate you publicly for, you know, when I came on the Shreveport Fire Department, there wasn't many African Americans on there, and you took me under your wings and
Yes, sir.
mentored me. I don't know if you did a good job or not.
He did.
I don't know.
I want to let you know I appreciate your professionalism.
Absolutely.
when I came on the job, because, you know, many folk like me will run up in no fight. But you helped me get the courage and be brave. And
Yes, sir.
I was voted firefighter year for the state of Louisiana, for your information. I was darn good.
How much did that cost you?
I taught him everything he knew.
That's why.
Yes,
But anyway,
thank you, Commissioner, I appreciate that.
I appreciate you having a forfeit attitude because of all the trickle-down cuts from the federal government and the local and state. It appears they don't care nothing about local municipality at all, and parishes. And they're gonna take care of their own business, but leave us hanging. So I commend you on preparedness, pre-planning for the shortfall to secure the manpower that you're gonna need. Because we know what happens when you don't have the manpower. You depend on the parish and the city to support you. So I will be supporting you, not even now, but in the future. But every time you come before the body, you have my support.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate what you're doing to make sure that our people are prepared, ready, and are sharp. And I know they're under your watch. They know they're under your watch. They will be ready.
Yes, sir, it's not going to change. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate what you do, man. Thank you.
And I don't make any unrealistic requests, just like Commissioner Lynch. Thank you, sir. I appreciate those comments.
Appreciate you, Mr. Davis. Thank you so very much.
We got this one, we got.
What was that
That
comment
is,
say?
Mr.
Hey, excuse me.
Well,
That's why they got rid of it.
next item.
Next, we move to communiques and committee reports.
Communique, committee reports. Next item.
I just want to report my committee.
Mr. Wilson. Well, Mr. Everett. Mr. Everett, can I see you, please? Familiar with the situation about the horse on Washington Lane?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll get you that information so we can go out. I got a call there, in that subdivision off of Greenwood Road, you know, Washington Lane, out by Praise Temple. Not Praise Temple,
Greenwood Acres.
Greenwood Acres. Church, that subdivision in there. Yeah, the ladies complaining about a horse, the stench of feces and urine. And it's coming over in her yard, so I was wondering if there was maybe something, you know, we had.
Yes, sir, we can look into it and see exactly what's causing the problem and see if we can find a way to alleviate it from the people that's dealing with it.
Okay.
We just need to look into it and see exactly what's going on so we can give you a better outcome of what we expect to find.
Okay, all right, I'll get you that address later on. That's all I have.
While he's here,
Don't go nowhere.
While he's here,
Okay.
can we just keep him?
All right,
I'm asking Ken.
go ahead, yeah, then I'll go to Mr. Wilson.
I just wanted just to compliment you and your department. I had got to be a citizen finally. Last weekend had a little issue with a pit bull that was kind of loose, and I'm not a real big fan of dogs like that, but this officer, Wermeyer or whatever,
Yes, sir.
that man had more patience and was more professional. I'd have shot that dog an hour well in, you know, but I see I saw firsthand what they go through, and I was very pleased. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Same thing?
I'd have shot the dog.
Commissioner
Not the same
Cox?
thing, but I'm gonna follow up on what Ken's talking about. Two parts. First off, Mr. Vernon that keeps calling me for the immunizations, have you talked to him about this? Because I told him time and time again, that is your department and your decision to bring it to us. I cannot do that. So has he talked to you or you talked to him?
No, sir, he has not contacted me. I've responded to him via email to make him aware of my concerns with the vaccinations. His situation is a little bit outside of our scope of authority, and what he needs to do is to get the buy-in from the community veterinarians to be able to do that. And what he wants us to do is to change the laws in which we operate to respect one person versus the whole group. So he needs to get a little bit more community support and see if the veterinarians would be willing to go from 1 year to 3 years.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Get in touch with him, email, phone call, sit down with this man to explain to him your side, because we follow your lead when it comes to something like this.
Yes, sir.
Him calling me ain't gonna get his situation or his answer any quicker.
I don't think we'll be able to get him to understand that, sir. We've dealt with him, and
he's one individual compared to what the population is, and he wants to change the law to benefit him, but the veterinarian community is what he's going to have to get the buy-in, and I don't believe that they would be willing to go from seeing the animal every year to seeing it every 3 years. And that's what I explained to him, is that his fight is not with me, but with the veterinarian community.
Well, if you can do one more effort and patch us in on it, I would appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Now, as far as going on the horse issue, and some of the issues that you and I talked about, as far as the cat problem I had in Southern Hills, I gave a directive to Dr. Wilson last meeting that I want you to go ahead and pursue getting tougher laws, because Ken, I'm going to tell you, there's not much they can do. I've seen it, I've heard it, and I've dealt with it, specifically in her area, with a constituent that came to me. So, as far as what he can and cannot do, that ain't gonna happen. The laws need to get tougher. And until those laws get tougher, they can only go out and ask the people to clean up or adjust areas. Am I right or am I wrong?
So we would be more on the enforcement side. The laws would be created by this body. We can recommend changes that would put some teeth into it to be able to give us
I've had the same thing happen.
So basically,
the authority to be able to do it. Right now, we cannot go out and assess fines or civil penalties to try to curb some of this behavior, and I think that's what Commissioner Cox is alluding to. But that's the problem, is that we can only go out and try to direct people to do anything, but we can't hold them accountable unless we send them into the court system and allow the judges to deal with it.
So you say, can I add, so you're saying with his request, you can't go out there and...
No, we can go out there if we see that it's a nuisance, but what will end up happening is we will send the person to court, and then a judge would have to decide the outcome. We don't want, at that point, once we send it to court, it's out of our hands. It may take 6 months before a judge decides to hear that particular case.
And let me bounce back, because I work close with Everett on many instances, and I've seen him come back to me and say, our hands are tied when we get to a certain point. And that's when I made my directive to this administration to get with him, go down and find other parts of the country or parishes in this state, see what they're doing. Because property standards alone, if I've got somebody with animals that live next door to me and have feces or smell or just don't give a darn, and my property value goes down, why should we, and we go for a tax increase or a ordinance, why should they care about how we feel or what we're asking for when we can't give them the satisfaction? And that's why I've asked him to get something within the next 30 days. I'm expecting something within 30 days.
Yeah, Mr. Everett and I had this discussion this morning, and we were working on tougher laws, that as long as this body is supporting that, we can move forward.
See, now there again, I don't want to say it's red tape.
No,
I asked you 2 weeks ago to go for it. Okay. I'm telling you, and this board, and I'm sure each individual has had problems. I got Dominic over here shaking his head. We all have problems. Go get those laws, bring them back to us so we can give the property owners in this parish within the city that we govern with his department, give them something to go on. Because I'm going to tell you, property standards that are in trouble are half and half because of what's living next door to you or in their backyard.
So is this something that we need to take to our property standards committee?
Ma'am, this is going to be a little bit larger.
So he needs to...
Well, see, we ain't got to our agenda yet, and it's almost 2 hours, so...
Matthew gets married a little bit.
Yeah, he needs to finish.
Go ahead, Ken. I just wanted you to know that there is a problem.
Hey, man, you know I've been...
We'll look into it, sir. We'll look into it.
Thanks.
Okay, that's my point, Mr. Everett. We want to go out and see what we can and can't do and deal with it. I realize that there are a lot of things that we cannot do. That's the purpose of going out and investigating. and then we find out what we need to put in place, if we can put it in place. So thank you.
We will do it, we will do it, we will go
Right,
out there
yeah,
and take a
we-
look
we
at
go out and
it.
I'll
I
be
can
with
assure
you.
you that.
Okay.
They do a good job.
All right.
There's no problem there.
Mr. Wilson, also, you would have the right to participate in the deliberations with the Biomedical Research Center, right? There's nothing private to that? Don't we have, can't you be a representative or you designate someone? So, you know, you can come back and tell us what's going on, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Because here, I read an article, I asked you to talk
That's correct.
to them about it, get an answer. The answer to you was that the article was total false.
That's correct.
Nothing was going to happen. Then here and again, we got that everything is in place.
That's correct.
So that's my concern. Make sure that we are involved with what's going on.
That's right.
No one is trying to deny anybody or let the facility close down. We as a governing body that has a stake in that, by supporting that tax millage, you know, we need to know what's going on. You know, we on the outside and everybody doing any damn thing that they want to do, but yet and still they still sucking in money from us, but they don't want to have us at the table and let us know what's going on. It's just not right, plain and simple. So if you would,
I will make a request.
would you tell Dr. George
Yes, sir.
that you would like to participate in on the discussion, deliberation of the proposals, or some member of your staff, where you can come back and bring us factual information as
Yes,
to
sir.
what's going on? Okay? And also, I think that there's a possibility that some hospitals in maybe, I don't know if it's Lake Charles or Lafayette, that has already entered into some type of agreement. So if that is so, if there's possible, and that's public information, could you get copies of what they have entered into within their partnerships to take over, their partnerships to take over those facilities? And I think maybe in Alexandria also, I thought I heard that too, the one in Alexandria, okay? That way it'll give us an idea as to what's going on, maybe what we can do to help, you know, because we don't want to see it closed down. We're not looking at that. We just want to know what's going on. So when our constituents ask us something, we won't read one thing, you tell us one thing, and then it's something that's totally different, plain and simple. And we deserve that respect.
Yes, sir.
Because of our position with that organization. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Whittington and Mr. Glass on the situation on Jefferson Page that we're working on, trying to get that road cut through. Also, Mr. Wilson, could you, Robert, or whoever's purview it would be, you remember the 300 acres behind the sports mall off of Greenwood Road that we had a hot lead on? I think it may have been Amazon.com was
Yes, sir, I
supposed to maybe do a distribution center. Could you see if that land is still
Available.
for sale and available? And I think the zoning and what the zoning is on it, we had met with the MPC also, but I think negotiation fell through, they went somewhere else, or they changed their mind. What's the gentleman's name that's heading up North Louisiana Economic Partnership, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, Scott Martinez.
Pardon?
Scott
Martinez?
Yes, sir.
I think I heard or read something where they are contemplating trying to bring in a regional mall. And I was thinking if there's a possibility that that particular land, which is over 300 acres, could be a possible site that we can look at that situation. Also, Mr. Grubbs, you know, I'd asked you about that tax and economic area like the city's doing with Mall St. Vincent. Possibility, maybe we can do something there, see if we can, if that's so, if we can get them in. Because, you know, we had gotten to a point where the state was going to widen the road and all that, where Bert Coombs dead ends at Greenwood Road to that entrance. So if you could get that in place.
We invite Mr. Martinez to come to the commission meeting on Thursday. Your email was to come and give you an update on what's going on.
Right, and then I'd heard about that subsequently, that they was exploring that opportunity.
Okay.
And I was thinking about maybe we could see if that would be something that they would, an area that they would be looking at putting that into. Okay, that's all I have, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing, pardon, ma'am.
From Greenwood Road, you talking?
You know the sports mall, you know where they house the Katrina residents and the shelter? But now it's been, that mall has been bought by a gentleman, He's turning in some nice things. He got some businesses in there.
Greenwood Road and what street?
Burt Coons, we're dead end before you get to, Caldwell's Church. Old outlet mall, remember?
Yeah. Okay.
And it's about 300 acres of land back there we were looking at for a big warehouse. They had the plans and everything made out. Okay.
You had one other thing, what?
I'd just like to commend our Madam President, National President of the National Association of Black County Officials for really putting on and some excellent seminars and meetings while we were in Washington, D.C. We were hobnobbing with Jim Clyburn, a number of congressmen and senators, the mayor of Washington, D.C. So I tell you what, if you want somebody to put on a show, ask this woman. I don't know how she did it, but we was in high cotton up there with a lot of big time people. And since I've left, I've had an opportunity to use the congressman from San Diego with a situation that I had. So we applaud you, Madam President.
She gets better with age.
Raise the bar up there for those other guys that coming in when their time is up, or women, whoever it is. I just want to let you all know that you did an excellent job. Plus, you walk around with about 1,000 ribbons on in the other committees that she's with NACO. Thank you.
I think I have one.
Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to report on the Juvenile Justice Committee. We did meet, and I know that Administrator Cox and I are going to the Juvenile Justice Governors Conference to find out about all the latest cuts. Also, we had a comprehensive plan on a master plan for young youth in our community from a parish-wide initiative. We're planning to meet on the 15th or the 18th to go to the intergovernmental meeting that we have with the parish and the school and us together to lay out a plan, specific plan on how we're going to address the summer youth program in Caddo in the city of Shreveport. You know, all too often we don't be prepared for the summer to provide a coordinated effort of programs and opportunity parish-wide. So this is hopefully a jump start to many other serious meetings, not just meeting just to be meeting and study, to have some comprehensive in scope, provide some meaningful recreation and swimming and opportunity for our youth this summer. So I'm excited about that, and I'm working with our faith-based, community-based, and other government entities. One of my goals is to try to raise $1 million, not specifically from one entity. That means from private, public, grants, whatever the case may be. I'm going to provide the first $100, so I got to come up with $999.09. So
You got time.
anybody want to help participate that goal? And, I'm serious about working with our children.
You need the $9.99 bus ticket?
I'm almost like the guy was running for $9.99.
You need that for plane fare? If it's one way, I'll pay it. Oh, Herman Cain, $9.99.
But anyway, we're excited about, the committee had some good input. I was excited to hear from everybody that came to help initiate this. So there's nothing new. You Google, you find out other cities and parishes have done this. The national cities of counties and cities have done a master plan for youth, and we're just kind of catching up the rear. And hopefully we can find some meaningful opportunity. Hopefully it won't come to that, but if it do, let's be ready to write a check and help our young people facilitate that. But here again, thank you, and I'll report back to you when I come back from the Governor's Conference. I hope y'all behave while I'm gone.
When is that?
Behave when I'm gone. I'll be watching y'all. I got my computer now. I can watch y'all.
When is the conference?
It's going to be 3rd to the 5th, so
Oh.
I'll be leaving Wednesday morning early. So,
Okay.
but I'll be watching y'all, making sure everything runs right up here.
Commissioner Lynch?
Yes, there will be a personnel policies and procedure meeting on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Commissioner Cox?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Johnson?
I ordered pizza, if anybody wants to know.
Oh, okay.
You got a win?
Commissioner Johnson?
Dr. Wilson, want to commend Public Works Group for yesterday when I sent you the email about the road, the trees falling down on the road, North Lakeshore Drive, that they did handle that pretty fast. Also, I saw in the news about the Shaw Group and the Water District, about the Shaw Group being bought by another company.
Yes, sir.
Which was kind of, I guess, postponing or slowing down the study or something like
sir.
that. Right.
So to me, it's kind of like, we could, like what Commissioner Epperson said, we kind of need to know about that kind of stuff before it hits the news.
Yeah.
Even if it's only just send us an email saying
Yeah,
that it's going to
We'll
happen.
brief it in the Natural Resource Committee meeting.
Yeah, but see, we don't see the minutes from that. I ain't even seen the minutes from that, I don't believe. So
Okay.
if you don't come to that particular subcommittee meeting, then you don't get that information. So, I mean, there's 12 members to this commission,
Right.
and we need to know about that, and not just a select few.
So,
Thank you.
you want to address your question about whether this is going to be slowed down or not?
Well,
Mr. Ward is
I guess
here.
the media was right when they talked about it, right? Wrong?
Ken, you want to address that real quickly? I'm sorry.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
We can address that Thursday. We can address a lot of things Thursday.
Okay. Is anything slowing down with the contract in the water district?
Craig just asked last week if, we should have already been in the public's awareness stage, and so I just relayed to him that the Shaw Group is no longer Shaw Group, they're CBI, they're working on their new employees, so trying to work out exactly what they're doing. They're working with us, heavily through new contracts, trying to get it right, so it has slowed down that process, but they're still working on Phase 6, which is the economic phase of it. We really need to be through with Phase 6 for a good amount so that we can speak intelligently to our public affairs. So, yes, we did meet the schedule that we were looking at, but we are still working, we are still moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll make sure I brief you all in the future during the work session, any changes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson?
Property standards, Thursday, April 4th, 1:00 p.m. Also, Paul Elio is supposed to be in town, gonna give us an update.
When?
Thursday.
Here?
3:30?
Yes, he'll be here.
Also,
I talked with him Saturday, so we'll,
last but not least, the Swag Nation mentoring group will be graduating in first class on April the 13th at 6 o'clock, 700 block P Avenue, Life Lake Center. All the commissioners who want to come and attend and see the investment you made in these young people, I would hope that you would mark your schedule for April the 13th and come out and witness this facility. Thank you.
Will you send us invitations on that or email or something?
You get an invitation from them.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, no, let's keep
Going
it
once,
going.
twice? I won't even do it, President.
No, because I heard.
Come on now.
We have no old business, we move to new business.
Commissioner Escudé?
Yes, I move that we move and in Globo items 02 all the way through 013 and the MPC board appointment to Thursday, at which time we can have further discussion.
Point of order. Mr. Lynn asked to postpone that appointment, so.
Okay, we take out that appointment, so I move that we in Globo and move forward items 002 through 013.
Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Escudé, second by Commissioner Lynch, to in Globo 002 through 0013, and also remove the authorized appointment for Mr. Lourdes.
That appointment request been withdrawn.
It's been withdrawn. It's
Yes.
been moved and second. Are there any discussion?
Yes, I am making an exception today because it's Matthew's wedding day and my pre-birthday.
Pre-birthday.
Oh,
I'm not gonna read all of that
Yeah, I know.
stuff.
okay, we're gonna remember that.
Thank you.
Pre-birthday.
Please vote.
What do you want, 2 gifts? What does that mean?
7 o'clock.
I'll remember that.
Yeah, I still got to work.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Escudé, I don't have your vote on there. Okay.
Okay.
Next we move to consent agenda.
That's done.
Goodbye.
What you want to sip on today?
Listen,